where it's like a personal frustration. Had nothing to do with my team, had nothing to do with their reffing, had nothing to do with other team. It was just because I'm a competitor.
Came out with a lot of energy. It's just, continuing to find a way to sustain that, but at the same time, like, they're a really good team. They're not going to go away. It's just...
Caitlin Clark got a technical foul for being mad at herself after missing a shot. Now she's close to suspension. Is this the WNBA's way of saying thanks to the player bringing in millions of viewers? But before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Let's dissect this revolutionary event that has everyone talking. Imagine this. The most talented player in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, misses a three-point shot. She taps the backboard in frustration. Seems safe, doesn't it? False. When the referee's whistle blows, Clark is immediately assessed a technical foul. Replays in slow motion reveal the tale. How did Clark respond? A brief tap that is hardly perceptible in real time. But she paid a heavy price for that little moment of emotion. Experts in basketball are scratching their heads. Was there any point in doing a technical? A lot of people say no way. Clark was taken aback herself. According to her, I got a technical for basically being mad at myself. It was just because I'm a competitor and I felt like I should have been making more shots. It's an emotion that all athletes can identify with.
Where it's like a personal frustration. Had nothing to do with my team, had nothing to do with their reffing, had nothing to do with other team. It was just because I'm a competitor. I got a technical for basically being mad at myself because I missed the three and then I went and hit the backboard. And he told me it was disrespectful to the game of basketball, so.
Isn't it what makes athletics so amazing? The intense desire to improve oneself, the passion behind it all? But that's not how the referees viewed it. Clark's behavior, according to them, was disrespectful to the game of basketball. Really? Is it rude for a player to express how much she cares? Fans and a few prominent sports figures didn't buy it. The repercussions were severe and swift. Social media went crazy with fury. Supporters called for justice. Major sports media personality Dave Portnoy even called for the referees to be fired or suspended. One call wasn't the only concern anymore. It turned into a discussion on the essence of the game. This technical foul is more than just a minor inconvenience for Caitlin Clark. It's a significant obstacle in the way of her success. Consider it, Clark is not your typical player. She is the WNBA's face and the one drawing all-time high attendance and viewership. Her transformation from undergraduate idol to professional phenomenon has been nothing short of amazing. However, right now, all that momentum could be derailed by this tragedy. It involves more than one call or one game. What makes Clark so fascinating to watch is her reputation, her skill at her craft, and her ability to display enthusiasm. Is the Caitlin Clark who has so many followers lost if she needs to question every emotional response? The worst part is that this technical infraction wasn't your typical one. Clark's was his 6th of the year. Why is that relevant? Because 7 technical fouls in the WNBA automatically result in a 1-game suspension. Clark is suddenly balancing on a tightrope. After 2 more techs, she will leave. The biggest star in the league was made to watch from the sidelines. Consider what that would imply. There is more missing from games when Caitlin Clark isn't playing. It's precisely because of this that so many people tune in. Everything suffers. TV ratings, ticket sales, and merchandising turn, and action is significant for a league that is still vying for recognition in the sports world. The WNBA is at a pivotal point in its history. The league is up against a battle that might make or break its future as it tries to forge its own identity apart from the NBA. We have the laws and guidelines that uphold justice and order on the one hand. Conversely, star power and excitement fuel fan engagement and league expansion.
Caitlin Clark effect, right?
The Caitlin Clark effect. Yeah, StubHub started seeing this really early. As soon as she announced she was going to be in the WNBA draft.
Yeah, I think there's times where we would have crumbled, but we just kept battling and fighting, and I thought it was a really good win for us.
And Caitlin Clark appears in the midst of all of this turmoil. Now, let's discuss Clark's influence on the WNBA. She's a phenomenon rather than just being well-liked. Fans swarm the court, television ratings soar, and social media explodes as Clark comes onto the court. She's drawing spectators who may not have previously watched a WNBA game, opening their eyes to the sport. For a league still trying to make a name for itself in the congested sports world, that's gold. Compared to other players in the league right now, consider Angel Reese as an example. Without a question, she is talented, yet she lacks Clark's impact. The more time passes, the more obvious it is that Clark is essential to the WNBA's expansion. Clark plays and everybody watches. When she doesn't, that's the main query the league has right now. This gets us right to the core of the problem. The WNBA may be shooting itself in the foot, according to critics who are beginning to raise concerns. They contend that the league is endangering itself by punishing elite players like Clark harshly, maintaining the integrity of the game while yet fostering the star power that is essential for growth requires a careful balance. A commentator went on to say, "Never left unless Caitlin Clark walks up and punches somebody directly in the damn face. They should be doing everything possible to make sure she sees a basketball court." Though it's a powerful statement, observers and fans are beginning to share this sentiment more and more. Clark should be playing for the league rather than watching from the sidelines as a result of technical fouls. This is where things become tricky, though.
Ouch. But also, I think people love that about you, as long as you don't either break your hand or get another technical.
They're just understanding each other as we're playing the game. Looking for each other when each other's hot, like Kels got hot there.
Felt like I should have been making more shots, so but I think he fired me up to continue to play a lot harder. I thought we got a lot better after he did that, so I want to thank him.
There are those beginning to question whether this involves more than just strictly enforcing the rules. Is there even the slightest trace of ignorance or jealousy concerning Clark's influence on the popularity of the sport? Thoughts are being muttered regarding this sensitive topic in basketball circles. Consider it. Unlike anybody else in the league, Clark is drawing in more spectators, increasing viewership, and creating conversation. She is starting to represent women's basketball. Is there any conflict going on behind the scenes because of that? Are there people in the WNBA who see her quick ascent to fame as a threat? Although it's a delicate subject, it must be discussed. The WNBA must embrace its stars rather than cut their wings if it is to develop and prosper. The league has put a lot of effort into establishing itself and demonstrating that women's basketball is worthy of recognition. Will they allow stringent interpretations of the rules to sideline their national treasure now that they have her? Everyone is holding their breath due to Caitlin Clark's predicament as the WNBA finds itself walking a tightrope. What would happen if the brightest player in the league was suspended? We're talking about possible audience decreases that should worry network executives, not just a few lost games. Social media users are already venting their annoyance and threatening to stop watching if Clark isn't playing. Imagine anticipating to watch one of Clark's spectacular plays when you turn on a WNBA game only to discover that her seat is unoccupied. It's a nightmare for the Liga's expansion in addition to being disappointing for the supporters. Could there be a decline in TV viewership, a drop in ticket sales, and the momentum the WNBA has been gaining? It might disappear more quickly than a Clark three-point shot. But the WNBA and Caitlin Clark aren't the only topics at hand. People are starting to wonder about women's sports in general as a result. Does the development of female athletics benefit or suffer from strict officiating?
Came out with a lot of energy. It's just, continuing to find a way to sustain that, but at the same time, they're a really good team. They're not going to go away. It's just...
We didn't crumble. We had a few lapses that it didn't look very pretty for us, but we always found a way to respond.
One way to demonstrate to the public that women's sports are just as serious and competitive as men's is to uphold high standards. However, are we putting ourselves at risk if those stringent rules are keeping out the players who are attracting new supporters? Opinions from sports analysts are as split as a game that is tied in the last few seconds. Some contend that the league must do whatever it takes to keep its stars safe. One analyst emphasized the WNBA should be doing everything possible to make sure Clark sees a basketball court. They think the league won't be able to expand its fan base without the support of big names. Some argue that there is a risky precedent when regulations are loosened for elite players. What does it tell the next generation of athletes? That if you're not well known enough, you merely need to follow the rules? The WNBA is squarely in the center of this contentious issue, so it's a difficult balance. Fans are also voicing their opinions, with many urging for a compromise. While they appreciate the integrity of the game, they still want to see their favorite players on the court. We need Clark to play, but we also need fair officiating. As one fan put it, there must be a method to have both. The entire issue highlights the particular difficulties faced by female athletes. Every choice has greater significance in a world where women's sports are still battling for equal respect and recognition. Clark is representing not just her team or herself, but also the aspirations of a whole league when she plays. For any athlete, let alone one who is just beginning her professional career, that is a lot of pressure. For athletics, women have traditionally had to put forth twice as much effort for half the rewards. They are trailblazers who continually demonstrate their value in a field that is dominated by men, not only athletics. The emergence of a star such as Clark is not only thrilling, but also affirming. It demonstrates to the world that women's sports can be equally exciting, competitive, and deserving of recognition as those played by men. But scrutiny follows that visibility. Every action Clark takes is scrutinized, and every feeling she displays is assessed. The exact enthusiasm that draws so much attention to her as a player is now working against her. So it's a two-edged sword. Not only does Clark experience this, but female players in all sports must constantly strike a balance between displaying their competitive spirit and adhering to frequently unjust expectations of behavior. For more Hoops videos that cover the latest and greatest stories, click that subscribe button so you stay in the game. If Caitlin Clark can hit a logo 3, surely you can click a button to show your appreciation for all the hard work that went into making this video. It's free, so what are you waiting for? Subscribe and see you in the next one.